So today I want to talk about our upcoming ACT exam right now, which is scheduled for March the 3rd. We are required to have an official training meeting, so you do need to sign the Google form stating that you have watched this meeting that will serve as our record that you did attend the official ACT training meeting. So once again, we are administering the ACT online on March the 3rd. It will be a junior only day, and we will have regular school hours, meaning students will arrive at 7:10 and they will be released at 12:30. All teachers, paras, subs in the building should complete the ACT training, which is separate than this meeting. The training, if you remember from last year, is a Google slide and then a Google form quiz, whatever you want to call it, that accompanies it. And I will send those links out in another email. So if you are a teacher, para, or a sub in the building, you should complete the training. If you have any questions about that, let me know. So couple just general information. You want to make sure that you understand your testing assignment, and I will share a Google sheet with you that will have all the ACT faculty assignments. Make sure that you know the timing code. 90% of you will be timing code 1, which is regular time. If you are in special ed or ESL, you will have a different timing code, but it's very important that you understand what the timing code is for your room. And the timing code will also be listed on the Google Sheets ACT faculty assignments. Please make sure that you stay at your assigned testing location the entire time unless you are released by another faculty member. Because we are required by ACT regulations to have so many proctors in the rooms and to have people monitoring the bathrooms and the hallways. So you need to stay in your assigned location. So the order of the test, again, is English, which is 45 minutes, math is 60 minutes. There's a 15-minute break. You can, during the break, allow the students to leave the room one at a time to use the restroom. Do not allow all the students out at one time or you will not get started back on time. They may talk, stretch, or eat a small snack, but make sure that they're eating away from the computers, okay? They may not access their cell phone or any electronic device. So if they go to get something out of their bag, you need to make sure what they're accessing. I mean, are they getting a granola bar out? What is it that they are accessing? Then you will have reading, which is 35 minutes, and science, which is 35 minutes. We are not administering the writing test. After we have finished the actual test, you're going to give them a little bit of a break, and then they're going to complete the pre-registration portion, which is the ACT survey that they will access on their Chromebook. And that should take them about 30 minutes and should take us close to our 12:30 release time. So prior to testing, you're going to be picking up your materials in the library this year so that we can social distance a little bit easier. You're going to sign out your folder. You're going to check that your testing folder includes the following items: your test administration forms, your student authorization tickets, ACT-specific questions that will be a pink sheet of paper, the ACT calculator policy, official ACT blue scrap paper, ACT testing manual, and important proctor reminders. Besides the calculator, we are providing all the testing materials. So we are providing the scrap paper. I will have pencils. There is a calculator on the computer, but if students are allowed to bring in their own calculator, but you just need to make sure that it follows under the ACT calculator policy, which that sheet is in your folder. Make sure that your testing room is set up appropriately. And by that, I mean your desks need to be faced in a U where the students are facing the wall, one student per table, and you need to use your table divider. So there should be a divider between each table. Do not allow students to choose their own seats. You need to select the seats. You're going to want to retrieve your seal codes for your test. I would highly suggest that you do this prior to, that you access all the seal codes for the entire test at one time, and that you do this prior to the arrival of students, if possible. Do not write the seal code on the board until the directions prompt you to do so. You should only be writing the seal code for the test that you are currently administering. Do not write all the seal codes on the board at one time. So everything that you access through your Pearson Access Next account, which you should have already reset your password on. But that is where you need to go to do all of these things. You need to log into your Pearson Access Next account to retrieve your seal codes. You're going to select the testing icon, then you're going to select the session's title. You're going to check the box next to your session. The name of your session is actually listed on your faculty assignment. You're going to look for that session name. You're going to check the box next to it. And then you're going to say that you want to retrieve the seal codes. In the task panel, select Show Students in Session and Control Sessions in the drop menu. Then you're going to select Students in Session screen appears. In the session list, select the session to work with. In the resource menu, you are going to select seal codes, and then the seal codes window will appear. Taking attendance. Attendance must be taken on the roster I attached to the test administration form. You have to do this a specific way. ACT requires it. So we will be using column R for identification. You're going to put your initials in the R column saying that you recognize the student. Use Dazzle to help you identify students, or you may use if they have a school ID card. Okay, I know that with remote students, this may be an issue. Hopefully their picture is in Dazzle. If it's not, and neither one of the proctors in the room can identify the student, or maybe the proctor next door or whatever, you can call the office to see if a counselor or administrator can help you with the identification of the student. Do not kick the student out of the testing room, okay? We should be able to find somebody that can identify the student. They can also use a driver's license, but some of our students are not going to have a driver's license, or they may not have a student ID card this year because of our particular situation. Whoever identifies the student should be the one to put their initials in the column. The name of the absent student should also be written on the front cover of your testing folder. If a student is not on your roster, they cannot test in your room because they won't be able to access their test because they have a different code, okay? If they don't know where to go, just send them to the library and we will find their assigned location. Once you begin reading the general instructions for the ACT test, late students cannot be omitted. This gives you an example of the attendance roster. So it's going to have the last name, the first name, the room number that they're assigned to, the proctor, and then you are going to either you had a photo ID, staff recognized, or you're going to put an absent. So you need to unlock their test session. And again, you're going to be in the Pearson Access Next account to unlock your test session. You must do this before students can actually log in, okay? So you need to do this before you instruct the students to go to TestNav and log in. You are going to select the test icon. You're going to select sessions to access the session screen. And again, your session's name is located on the faculty assignment sheet. It's also on the front cover of your testing folder. Check the box next to the session you will be administering today, and in the task panel, select Show Students in Session and Control Sessions in the drop-down menu, and the student session screen will appear. Verify that each student's test status is ready in the table and that the session is locked. Slide the button to the right to unlock the test. Allow a minute or two for this to be processed. The student test session will now appear without a padlock. If this step is not performed, students will not be able to access the test. You'll get an error message. Leave Pearson Access running during the test session. Do not log out or turn the computer off. To lock the test session, you'll slide the button to the left. The student test status now appears with a padlock. So, beginning the test, everyone will start reading general instructions on page 71. Once you begin reading these instructions, the secondary proctor can walk around to make sure that students are following along. Read the instructions exactly how they are printed in the manual. We are not administering the writing portion of the ACT. Students should not log into the Chromebook. Students should go to the apps at the bottom of the screen and select TestNav. And then they should select ACT. Now, there are a few students who have not been assigned Chromebooks because they've been using their own personal computer. They cannot use their personal computer to take the ACT because they need this special secure browser. We have a limited number of computers in the library to take care of these students. So if you have a student that needs a Chromebook, the secondary proctor can go to the library with the student's name to secure a Chromebook from Ms. Zinniger. This is for students who were not assigned a Chromebook. We are required to complete questions for the state of Ohio. These questions are contained on the pink sheet of paper in your testing folder. You need to read these questions to the students. Once you have completed the general instructions, you will then turn to the specific instructions for your timing code. At the bottom of page 75, it tells you what page your test instructions begin on for your timing code. Turn to your timing code instructions and begin the actual ACT. Read and follow the instructions exactly how they are written. During the test, I would suggest that you keep the View Examinee progress screen up so you can be sure that if a student has not been accidentally logged out of a session or that a student isn't making any progress. So you can kind of see how students are doing. That way it can help alert you to a possible problem. To view Examinee and progress, you're going to select the testing icon screen. Again, you're on your Pearson Access Next account. You're going to select the sessions to access the session screen. In the table, check the box next to each session you want to view. So again, you're using your session name. In the Select Task menu, select Show Students in Sessions and Control Sessions. The Students in Sessions screen will then appear. In the Sessions list, select the session you want to work with. The session information appears. Search to find the examinee whose status you want to view. Examinee status is shown in the student test status column of the list of examinees. The table on the screen describes the possible status conditions, and that's on the next slide here. Select an examinee's status while viewing the list to view more detailed information about examinee's test and item progress. With 2 proctors being in the room, obviously if you see a student's not making progress, just send the secondary proctor over there just to check on the student. And these are the different status that you will see on the screen and what they actually mean. Take the following steps to stop the test after all examinees completed the last test, which is science. Do not stop a test session until all students have completed the last test. They have submitted the last test. The time is up. You're going to select the testing icon. You're going to select the session's title to access the session screen. You're going to check the box next to the test session to be stopped. In the task pane, select the Show Students in Session and Control Session. In the drop-down, let me repeat that. In the task pane, select Show Students in the Sessions and Control Sessions and the drop-down menu. The Student in Session screen will appear. On the Students in Session screen, verify that all examinees in the session have a status of completed so that you know that everyone is done. Select the Stop Session button. The session is stopped. The button becomes a restart button. On the Students in Session screen, verify that all examinees in the session have a student test status of completed or marked complete. Select the Stop Session button. The session is stopped. The button becomes a Restart Session button. If you have a student that will not submit their own test, let me know, and I will help you conclude your test session because we have to mark them actually as complete. After the test has been concluded and all the test materials have been collected, you should pass out the non-test student information form. Each student has their own non-test information form. Their name is at the top of it, and there is a special code that they're going to need to log in. You're going to have the students log into their Chromebook, and they're going to go to myact.org, and they will log into their ACT account and complete the survey using the code that is on their form. The directions of what they need to do is also on that form. Most of the students have created their ACT account, but as you know, this has been a challenging year. So you may have a student that will need to create their ACT account, which is pretty simple, and I will include instructions of what they need to do that if they don't have an ACT account. But we are trying to place students in rooms in which everyone in the room has completed or has set up their ACT account. But we will try to let you know if you have a student that has not done that. You're going to have students answer the questions to the best of their ability, and that's what you need to tell them. Answer it to the best of your ability. If there is a question that students are uncomfortable with or they simply don't know the answer to, they may skip it. It is not going to impact their ACT score in any way. I encourage students to select colleges to have their scores sent, but it is not required. But if a student asks you about this, please let them know that if they don't select colleges to have their scores sent and they decide at a later date to have their scores sent, that they could be charged a fee for that. And it's usually $12 or so for them to do that. So we suggest that they have their scores sent. After testing has completed, you're going to return your ACT test folder to the library immediately following the end of testing. Make sure that you have completed the seating chart and that you have signed the test administration form packet. I have to send these packets back, so they have to be signed. The test folder should include the following items: the test administration form, the student authorization tickets. Any scrap paper that they use should be stapled to the back of their authorization ticket. any unused blue scrap paper, because I have to send the unused paper back as well, and your test manual. Now, as you know, there are certain things that you cannot do that I need to run through. You can assist the student logging on to their test, and you can help them log on again if they accidentally get kicked out. That is perfectly fine. If they have a problem with a particular question, tell them you will submit a irregularity reform in regards to their complaint. Please record the information and just give it to me, and I will submit an irregularity form about it. But you can't, if they don't agree with the question, there's nothing you can do about it other than file a complaint form. You cannot read or copy any of the test questions, answer choices, or passages. You cannot use your cell phone for anything that is not test related. You can use it to contact me or another staff member with a testing issue. You can use it to check the time, but you cannot use it for any other reason. You cannot leave the testing room unattended, and this includes during the breaks. So you can leave one at a time as long as there is one proctor in the room at all times. You cannot work on any task that is not directly related to your administration of this test. And here are some examples of some things ACT says that you should not be doing. Have another screen open on the computer that is not directly related to this ACT administration. Grade papers, read a book, be on your cell phone unless it's directly related to the test administration. If you have a relative taking the ACT, you can proctor, but they cannot be in your testing group. If you are a coach, you cannot have a player in your testing room. To be safe, if you are a coach, let me know if a player in your sports program is in your testing room. So let's say, for example, Coach Phillips has a JV basketball player in her testing group. Even though she coaches varsity, I still want to remove that student because that student would be in the same program, okay? The boys program is separate from the girls program. So in my example, Coach Phillips could have a boy basketball player, but not a girl basketball player because that would be the same program. Case managers can have students on their caseload in their testing room. If you are particularly close with a particular student's family, they really should not be in your testing room. So let me know and I will remove that student. What students cannot do. I know you already know this, but they cannot access electronic devices at any time during the testing period. Please, to the best of your ability, collect the cell phones and smartwatches. That way, it's not a temptation on the student's part. We know some students are just used to checking the time by looking at their cell phone. So if it's sitting on your desk, we won't have to worry about that being a problem. I'm not asking you to get into a confrontation with a student, but let them know if you see it or hear it during testing, they're automatically out. There's nothing we can do about that. There is a zero tolerance policy for electronic devices. And this would also include make sure that there's no earbuds in, there's no cell phones, no smartwatches, any type of electronic device. Share testing materials such as a calculator. Students cannot share calculators. There is a calculator on the computer, and they are not required to use a calculator on the math section. They are allowed to, but they don't have to. They cannot share the same calculator. They cannot talk during the actual testing portions. They may not be disruptive in any way. They may not choose their testing seat. They may not have any materials on their desk during testing besides their testing materials. So anything that is being kept in their possession, and if it was me, I would just have them put their stuff at the front of the room, but they can put it underneath their chair. That is fine, but it needs to remain underneath their chair, and they cannot access it at all except during the break. And if they access it during the break, you need to see what they're getting out. They may only, as I said, they may only access their materials during the break, and you have to witness them accessing the materials. Restroom policy. Please discourage students from using the restroom prior to the completion of a particular test. They will not receive additional time to finish. And you cannot delay the starting of the next test. So please encourage them to try to wait until there is a scheduled break for them to go to the restroom. If they're saying it's an emergency, then certainly go ahead and let them go. But please make sure that they are aware that they will receive no extra time. So if they're not done with a particular section, or if you're starting a new section, they're not going to get additional time. We will have staff monitoring the restrooms during the entire testing period. So irregularities begin on page 64. I will take care of submitting the irregularity reports. I just need you to write down the information, names of students involved, the time that this happened, what part of the test you were on, and specifically what happened. Please do not just put a note in your testing folder about an irregularity. Please notify me as soon as possible so that I know that the situation has occurred. And if you are in doubt, go ahead and text me and say, I might have an irregularity, okay? If you think you might, then just go ahead and text me. So if you need to leave the room during testing, you can call Holly Ford at 1605 and she will send a staff member to your room. She'll send someone to your room to relieve you. If you have a disciplinary issue, for example, a student accesses cell phone or refuses to follow instructions, you're going to call Holly Ford and you're going to tell her, I need an administrator. And you need to tell her what room. If you're having any trouble administering the test, you're going to text me. Please start your text with your testing room number so I know where to go, okay? And again, if you think you might have an irregularity, go ahead and text me. And again, begin that text with your room number. As I mentioned at the beginning, everyone has to take the ACT training quiz, and you need to get a 70% on the quiz in order for it to count, okay? ACT requires that we have a meeting the day of the test. As our school day starts pretty early, we don't really have time to have a meeting the day of. So I will send an email out that will have important reminders on there, and it will have a return receipt. Please allow this because this is our record of us having met. I've also included in this PowerPoint that I will send out the ACT training video. The PowerPoint that goes with the training quiz, I think, is a little bit more thorough in explaining what you need to do. But there is an ACT online training video, there's no quiz with it, that you can watch as well if you want to. As always, I appreciate everyone's patience and cooperation as we get through this. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at any time. Thank you for your time, and go Vikes.